Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday, December 12th. This year's flying by, boys and girls. It is time to get busy because the end of the year is coming. If you have not joined us before, I'm a sales coach and trainer, and I work with both individuals and organizations, professional and non-professional salespeople, to help them do one thing and one thing only: increase their sales. And if you have joined us before, you know that every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I either do a live training or a live interview with someone who can add value to the profession of sales. And today is no exception, my friends. Before I actually introduce you to the handsome gentleman who's up to my left on my screen, I just want to remind you that it is almost the end of the year. We're just a few days away from Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and New Year's. And right now you're probably hearing, if you're in sales, call me after the holidays. Call me after the holidays. So here's just a couple of quick tips. One, you can certainly say, I'd be happy to call you after the holidays, but why don't we have a brief meeting now to see if it's even worth getting together after the holidays? Because you and I both know, my friends, that whoever is going to meet with you, they don't need your help next year or the year after. They need your help now. So don't make it easy for them to get away. But if they won't give you an appointment now, then set that meeting for after the beginning of the year. It's only 3 weeks away. Of course, you're going to want to confirm that before you go, but you can set meetings now. The other thing I want to tell you is it's a great time to look through your database and call everybody who told you that I want to think it over. I got to talk to my partner. There's a million people out there who probably need exactly what you've got right now. And some of them who've already met with you may be ready to make a buying decision, but they're just too busy to call you. So pick up the phone. Notice I did not say email, text, or WhatsApp them. Pick up the phone and call them. Ask them how things are. Wish them happy holidays and say, is there anything I can do to help you right now? There's still business to be had. You want to get going and keep going right now so that you end your year strong, and everything you're doing now is really setting up your Q1. So don't stop now. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to the VP of Sales and Marketing at Rogers Marketing, the co-founder of Positive Activity, and the author of, and I can't wait to ask him about this, his book is called Bar Tips. Bar, B-A-R, like you go to a bar, Bar Tips, everything I needed to know in sales. I learned from behind the bar. Please meet our guest today, Neil Rogers. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, Jeff. What an introduction. And what I really loved your tips, the end EOY tips, my friend.
Oh, man.
Really?
I can't. People are coasting right now, Neil. They're just, nobody's going to talk to me anymore. There's nothing else to do. I don't know about you. I'm not really a sports fan, but I love sports movies. And there's a movie called Bull Durham.
Sure.
Great movie, really great one. I don't like sports at all, but I love watching sports movies. Anyways, in this, it's about a semi-professional baseball team, and Susan Sarandon, who I love, plays kind of a groupie and a mentor, kind of a spiritual person for the team. And at one point, the team is going to play an away game, and they're on like a school bus that's taking them to the game. And as they're leaving, she's waving at them, and she goes, "Hit them where they ain't, boys. Hit them where they ain't." And I think that's incredibly good advice. It sounds so simplistic. Of course, you want to hit the ball where somebody's not going to catch it. But the way I take that is, let's do what the other person isn't doing. Because the average salesperson right now is giving up. Nobody wants to talk to me. I'll just coast till the end of the year and then I'll start over. What are your thoughts on that?
May I share?
Please.
So when I was in the athletic footwear and apparel business, we would be booking spring and whatnot, up to and including probably somewhere around mid-November to December, right? So what are you going to do for the balance of the year? Well, you go to the stores, you take the inventory for them, you go out and you say, here's what your holes are, and oh, by the way, guess what? I've got this closeout. Could you use 12 pair of those? And that's even leading up to Christmas. But even the week in between Christmas and New Year's, retail's not looking to buy, right? Guess what? I always did tons of business in that time because nobody else was showing up.
I love that. I want to give one more tip then before we let you introduce yourself. If you sell to corporations, if you're a small business like a retail, this is not the same thing. But if you sell to corporations, this is a perfect time to reach out to your contact and say, hey, by any chance, do you have budget that you need to dump for the year? Now, dumping budget means that they have a certain budget, like let's say you're a sales trainer. They have budget to do sales training. But if a company or a department doesn't use their budget, they get less budget next year. So I've actually had it way more than one time where I've reached out to a bunch of clients and said, hey, if you have any budget to dump, I can invoice you now and we can use it next year. I've gotten $25,000 deals in the last 2 weeks of the year just because I reached out. So gang, still plenty of time. And with that, Neil, why don't you give us the 2 to 3 minute version of your background before I have the 1,000,001 questions I've got for you?
Okay, so real quick, I'm a bartender and I sell things. Neil was never going to be an electrical engineer, a doctor, or anything. And the realization came that I even would go down this path because of my time in the hospitality business. So I started, through school and college and whatnot, I always kept my hand in, working in the kitchen, then out on the floor, and then eventually behind the bar. And so that brought me into the sales world, probably around mid-20s, and I haven't looked back since. I've been doing it for almost 40 years. Well, it is 40 years, I guess. And with process, and I'm probably going to get into these things when we get going, but yeah. So I've been I sold food, I sold athletic footwear and apparel, and for the last 30 years, my wife and I, and my partner in life and in business, and the co-founder of Positive Activity with me, we've had a swag business. So that's been our gig since then. So a lowly rep of sorts for 40 years.
And you're both professional speakers, yes?
Yes, we are.
Love that. Now, Neil, I've never worked behind a bar, although I did apply for a job at one point, but they wanted me to be a waiter instead. I said, no, I want to be behind the bar. That's where the money is. But I've sat in front of many bars, that's for certain.
Sure.
What was the moment when you were behind the bar, when you realized hospitality, in other words, being a bartender, and sales were really the same skill set?
Well, it came from the customers, because I was floundering around trying to figure things out in terms of, I was failing, trying to go to school a couple of times. You're talking to the only guy that flunked out of 2 community colleges. Okay. And so, but what I would hear from people, I realized when I poured a drink for somebody or when I served them and I got that immediate response, that positive response, well, that kind of felt good. I'd like to get more of that. And then over time, while I was still trying to figure out what I was going to do, people would say, with your skill, your interpersonal skills, Neil, you'd be great in sales. So that's when it first hit me. I mean, and then most of what I wrote in the book came in retrospect, right? When I look back on what my life, and somebody we were at an event where my daughter was being honored for the chamber. They've got an award for everything, the 30 to watch under 30. And the guy who gave the keynote speech was the guy that brought Five Guys burgers to New Hampshire. My primary residence is New Hampshire.
I love Five Guys.
And here's what it was, Jeff. And this is how I speak when I talk to people. I don't speak like I'm from Harvard. I didn't go to Harvard. I don't want to learn how to speak like I went from Harvard. I went to state school and I figured it all out, right? But anyways, he got up there and he was talking about pre-meal. So if you did work in the hospitality business in this fashion, pre-meal is that time where they tell you what's 86, what the wine of the night might be, or whatever. It's something on Five Guys. But then there's some sort of rah-rah speech. And he would say, we are not in the burger business. We're not in the fry business. We're not in the soda business. We're not in the shake business. We're in the hospitality business. I went just like this to my wife. I looked at her, I said, I haven't left the bar. I've been bartending on the road for 30 some odd plus years.
Wow.
And that's when and actually 3 years later, when what happened, and I won't say the word, trying to do something. I mean, the book came from just trying to keep myself busy and not losing my mind from being stuck inside, right? And I just started laying it out. What was important here? What was important there? And it was just brain dumped it on a big artist pad and just scratched everything out. And then I would run it. Then I would interview people in the people that I worked for, people that owned the restaurants I worked at. And then there was a bartender. He was a union bartender. So he was not working, collecting and painting my deck over here. So I would go out to him and say, hey, Phil, what do you think of this one? Oh yeah, that's definitely one. So we just corroborated on it. So most of that stuff really came okay, when it dawned on me, it's like, oh my goodness. And then I just thought about all these things that were what made me successful on the road and to this day, and what made us successful doing that work.
I love that. We're not in the burger business. We're in the hospitality business. It's just like Tony Hsieh, at Zappos. In his book, he says, we're not in the shoe business. we're in the customer service business and we just happen to sell shoes. And I think that's brilliant. And interestingly, I did the opposite of you when I was thinking about trying to become a bartender. I had had enough of sales. I don't want to do any more sales jobs. That's it. I know my personality would be perfect for bartending, and you had the opposite. It's great. Tell me about the book. Tell me a little bit about the book, and what did you learn behind the bar that applies to sales?
Well, you will not, gang out there that's listening to this, you will not hear any complex marketing theory in here. And I think in the end, I think Jim Rohn said it best when he said that the success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying the basic fundamentals. So everything we talk about are fundamentals. The importance of a proper greeting. Come on, gang, right? Come on, right? So and then throw a little, the old adage into that is what? You never get a second shot at that first impression. So, and I always use this as an example. Remember when Home Depot came to town 100 years ago?
Sure.
Right? And you walked in and there was a sea of orange aprons. How can I help you? Where are you going? What's your project? All that stuff, right? Now you come in. And then you get to that, you find the place, the kitchen area where you want to be. Oh, well, I'm not really supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be over there. I can't tell you how many times, and not that I do a lot of DIY projects, but it was just, and now, yeah, so it's a ghost town. But you walk into the Ace, you walk into Belt Hates in Nashua, New Hampshire. Good evening, good afternoon. What's going on? What's your problem? They do it. They get it. And that's where you get served. I mean, Home Depot's still doing great, and certainly anything I say is not going to change that. But if you want that feeling like somebody really wants to help you, go to the local guy. Go to the local hardware store. There's a shoe store in Nashua, New Hampshire. I wrote a blog post on it called Alex Shoe Stores. They sit you down and fit you. They bring out. Remember the old days when you went to shoe stores with your mom and dad?
That little sliding thing to measure your feet.
Hold it. Are you ready for this? That is called the Brannick.
I think I actually knew that. Yeah, that's good.
It's gotten that's my guy named Brannick, right?
Yep. So they had the little stool that they would sit on with the slant. You put okay, I remember. I'm old.
They got the whole deal. They'll bring out, listen, we've got this one. Thought you might want to try this one too, just in case. Right? You're walking, and the beauty of it is you walk into Alex, you are out of there in 20 minutes, no matter what. There's a sea of guys in there, gals, ready to serve you. Just amazing. So I think I'm again old school. I still think that if you want to stay alive in the retail bar, anything that deals with the public, serve them, right? So that gives you hope. But so now when you've given that initial greeting, right? How do you take that to the next level, right? How are we going to move this along? So if you think about it, I introduced myself to one of my promotional products. Sorry, I'm like got this cold and I've been up and down all night. So introduced myself to a promotional products client. Same way. How you doing? Don't go too deep into it. Maybe do a little. You probably know Sandler's. My only thing I really liked out of Sandler sales was the upfront contract.
I'm familiar.
Great one.
It's terrific. Yeah.
Great one. The rest of it was, trying to trick people to get you on the phone. I didn't want any part of it. But so you may get into something like that, and then shut your mouth. Stop talking. Do not interrupt them. Do not talk over them. And please, please, please do not one better them. Of course, we know what a one better is, right?
Absolutely.
I
love what you said about the suggestive sell. Here's another pair that you might like too. I was so intrigued by McDonald's. Would you like fries with that? Would you like to supersize that? And at one point I was doing a presentation and I actually called McDonald's corporate in Illinois. And I said, hey, I'm a sales trainer. I'm doing this presentation. I know that you guys are amazing at, the upsell. Can you tell me how much more money, how much more revenue do you bring in because of, would you like fries with that? Would you like to supersize that? And I got transferred to like 8 million people till I finally got through to the VP of marketing and asked my question. She laughed at me. She goes, Jeff, that's internal information and I can't share that with you, but I'll tell you this, it's a heck of a lot of money just by simply saying, would you like fries with that? Would you like to supersize that? How about this? I actually worked in a retail women's shoe store for about a year, and it was just brilliant. Hey, I know you like this one. I bought you this one too. Try that on. And then it was, would you like taps on that? Would you like some I mean, it's amazing when you're paying attention to serving the customer, not just trying to put money in your pocket, but really doing the right thing for them, how it can turn out well for both of you. Yes?
Oh, sure. Okay, this talking about stats. This just popped in. It might be a little bit divergent here, but do you know how much more a waitress or waiter, like in a diner, I just came from a diner, gets when they put the little thank you and their name on it?
I just read this the other day, and I don't remember the number, but it was staggering.
It's staggering. I'd have to I haven't got right in my head, but
yes, it was a huge
significant.
Amount.
Yeah.
Just by saying yes, just by saying thank you.
Yeah.
Incredible. I love when I hear people saying the things that I believe, and you've already done that a bunch of times. One of the most important things that salespeople need to do, and they just don't realize it, is shut up. Silence can be your very best friend in sales. I don't know if I mentioned when we did the pre-interview, but I'm also a stand-up comedian. It's the same thing, in comedy. When you tell, I did a gig last night, and new comedians often have a problem with this. They'll tell a joke and the audience starts laughing, which is exactly that's closing the deal, getting the laugh. Except as soon as they start laughing, the comedian gets nervous. They don't want to miss their next line. They don't want to forget it. So they start their next joke. Well, what happens when you start your next joke? The audience stops laughing because they don't want to miss the next joke. The best thing you can do sometimes is just shut up and wait. And it's so true in sales. I've seen it a million times as a coach, watching people give presentations. They'll even ask a question, which to me is the key to selling. And as the prospect's talking, you can see it in their mind. I wish this person would shut up so I could get my next bit of brilliance out. And they'll actually interrupt.
Yeah.
Insanity, just insanity. And I also love what you said. Your book talks all about fundamentals. In my sales training practice, that's all I teach. I don't teach anything fancy. I read most of the books that come out, and so many of, I'm sure you do too. So many sales authors write books filled with fancy techniques they sound good on paper, but they're nearly impossible to implement, and they don't really work in the real world. So why is it that you believe that the fundamentals are so important today?
Well, I think it just resonates. Well, you know what I think in the end it is? Most of the things, I'm just going through on the top of my head, everything I'm talking about is respectful, right? So the importance of a proper greeting is showing them respect. Why time management matters. Show up on time. Show them respect. Understand your product. Understand so you're not, again, back to wasting their time and showing them respect. Know other things that you can. So one of the chapters in there, which is one of my favorites, is peripheral knowledge. Peripheral knowledge is the doorman that tells you where to get the best steak. Right? Do you know anything about outside of your business that can help this person? Right? And so once again, showing them kindness, respect, those types of things. Everything is in there is really geared towards that. One of the things I say all the time, and then there is a chapter on humility in there. Basically, it's the one that says, when a business problem arises, start here. What was my role in this? How could I have done better? Don't go lashing out at the guy that taught me that one was the guy in the food business. Don't go lashing out at the truck driver or the person in the warehouse that picked it up, or the customer service that is kind of loopy, she's not very good at taking orders or whatever. Nobody looks good in that. Solve the problem. Don't blame anybody. Just take it and move. And actually, that's one of those. So one of the, I don't know if are you a journaler?
I'm not.
Okay. So here it is right here. And in the back of this, I find things like that I fine, much like you're talking about your books and what you read and all that. But these are, I think it's 23.
It's too shiny, we can't see it.
Yeah, I can't see it. From Jimmy Buffett. And one of them on here is stop blaming other people. So be humble.
Is drink plenty of margaritas on there?
Exactly. Margarita.
Hey, I'm glad you mentioned steak, because I always research the people I'm going to meet with, and I look at their LinkedIn posts. And about a month ago, you posted something that I thought was just great. You posted about watching a restaurant host as he recommended a different restaurant to a patron, which was a steakhouse up the street, to somebody who'd come into the restaurant. Many, if not most people, would think that's insane. Why did you think that was a good thing?
That was me. I did it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah. So what they were asking me is like, can I see a menu? Sure. What do you, and then of course, as a good server. So what are you into? What are you thinking about that? Because mainly what we had in our restaurant, and it was a restaurant-ish. It was more a bar-ish, it's like a hot Friday night place, right?
Yeah.
It was okay, whatever. And, but they said, well, we're really like some steaks. I said, well, we have one steak. But if you go through that door right there of the hotel and take a left, you've got the Chart House. They have every cut you want.
Love Chart
House.
If
anything else on this menu, if you want to try something, I mean, our scrod is good. I did not try to sell our place, but it was like, if this is what you're looking for, I'm just going to disappoint you. So what did I lose? Did I lose a customer? No, I think I gained one for life. And I think the operation gained one for life. Well, I like the way those people operate there. He wasn't trying to oversell me. He wasn't saying, because we had one steak and it wasn't awful. It was all right? But it wasn't what we did.
Right.
So, I mean,
when those folks want to come to a Hot Friday place and have some scrod, I bet they're coming back to your place.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's so funny. You said, you mentioned Sandler before. I happen to be a fan. I like the methodology. It depends on the franchisee. And the guy who lives near me, he's just terrific. He's referred business to me and I've referred business to him. When sometimes I'll talk to somebody, I go, you know what? I'm not the right guy for you. I'd love to take your money, but I'm not the right guy. Let me introduce you to somebody, my friend Rich Isaac. He's terrific, and he's got exactly what you need. And I believe the same thing you do. When you do that, that person, first of all, the person you refer them to is going to be thrilled and going to remember you. And the person you made that referral to is going to say, here's a guy who does what I call ADTRT, always do the right thing. So I love hearing that. Just love it. I want to ask you about something else, because in the sales process, I teach steps in order. And yesterday, I went on a sales call to meet with the owner of a Mass Mutual office, insurance and financial planning.
Very well.
200 sales reps, really good lead for me. The more sales reps a company has, the better it is for me. And the rep who works there, who introduced me to the boss, sat in on the meeting. It lasted maybe 40 minutes or so. And the first 25 minutes of the meeting, the entire first 25 minutes were just the owner of the office talking about himself, because I had asked him how he got into the business. And I did that on purpose, of course. Sure. And he's telling me, his life and his family and where he went to school and, how he got involved in the insurance and the financial plan. It was literally 25 of the 40 minutes of the meeting. And afterwards, he left and the rep and I were chatting, and she goes, wow, I thought he'd never stop talking. Were you upset? I said, upset? I would have been happy if he'd talked the entire time. And she said, why? And I said, because do you not realize I asked him about himself on purpose? That was a purposeful part of my sales process, because when you ask people about themselves and they start talking about their favorite subject, themselves, on an unconscious basis, they start thinking well of you. It's how you lay the groundwork. At least that's how I do it. What tips do you have for people in how do you lay the groundwork and establish rapport at the beginning of a sales process with people you just met for the first time?
Well, I think it's just following along the basics. I mean, how are you presenting yourself? How are you listening to them? Are you showing like you're interested? Are you nodding? I mean, you want to be legitimately interested, but I mean, typically if they're talking about themselves, listen up. I'm interested in what anybody's pedigree is. Tell me about you. Tell me about you. Tell me about your kids. Where do they go to school? What are their interests? I mean, and let them go. And as we all know, as old Dale would tell you, right? People want to talk about themselves. Let them go.
It's everybody's favorite subject. I actually have had meetings where the entire meeting was just them talk. I had a meeting once. My normal meeting lasts an hour and a half. This one was relatively short, but an hour and a half is average for a first meeting with a president, a CEO, or a VP of sales. I had one that lasted 2 hours, and the entire 2 hours was this guy talking about how proud he was of his son. Because when I walked into his office, sat down and greeted him, I looked and saw on his wall there was a picture of a gentleman who was a Marine, and I said, "Oh, is that your son?" He goes, "Yeah." 2 hours telling me how proud he was of his son, how he worked with President Bush. He was on Marine One, how he went through. It was a lovely story. And I was interested, but
Sure.
2 hours came and I'm like, wow, I got to tell you something. I'm already late for my next meeting. We're going to have to reschedule. I had a great time. And of course we rescheduled the next meeting where we could actually do business. But to me, that's not 2 hours wasted.
No.
That's 2 hours well invested.
No.
And so many times I find salespeople just are skipping all that important stuff. I want to talk about something else though, because again, I love reading stuff or hearing people say the things that I also believe in. In a recent post on LinkedIn, you shared some information. It tickled me because I make the same suggestion to my clients all the time. Why do you like what you call lumpy mail for cold outreach? And I love that term.
Well, you know what the open rate on a piece of lumpy mail is?
I don't. But I know it's higher than email.
100%.
I open every piece of mail that comes into my office, every single, even if I know it's an ad, I'm opening it up. Just sometimes they put in a quarter or $1 or some gift or something like that. I'm going to take a look, and you never know when it's something well. But talk a little bit about lumpy mail.
You're better than me, because if it's thin and whatnot, and I can tell that it's manufactured, it goes right. But if something's dimensional, I'm getting something, or some little teaser. It's going to be, for us, what we do is ours is more hands-on. I mean, we actually have a woman that writes things, because we're not sending out mass. This is not something you would send out. Well, some big corporation might, but small office like ours is not going to send this out to 400 people and spend $10,000. But will we spend? Will we take 50 and spend spend 1,000? Sure. if we've done our business and we've cleared them and we understand they can buy what we sell and they're the type of customer that we would like, but all the way down the line, sure, I'll drop $50 on you, sure, and I'll guarantee you that thing's going to get opened. Now, what your timing is in getting critical. Of course, even USPS has got great tracking. So if you even want to go that route. Oh, by the way, here's a little secret for everybody. Check out Go Shippo. It is unbelievable in terms of mail, of like shipping stuff, like staggeringly different. If we did it on our account, as an example, if we did it on our account, it'd be $15 through Shippo, 6.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you go. There's the tip of the day for the shipping people that ship out there. Well, if you're going to do an eat lumpy mail, and if you are going to do some lumpy mail, contact me. I'll help you out. But anyways, the always be closing, right, Jeff?
Well, not really, but it's one of those things that sound good. I mean, I can't walk into your office and say, "Hi, nice to meet you, Neil. Would you like to buy?" It's always be closing when it's time to close.
Correct. Always be promoting. How about that?
There you go. I like that a lot better.
That is my moniker and what I send out. It's in my sales pledge, positive activity sales pledge. But yeah, so I mean, so it's your timing of your phone call, because we believe that, and I'm sure we're in lockstep with this too, that the conventional wisdom is 7 significant touches in order to get somebody's attention. Now, are you going to bang phones and leave them 7 voicemails and 7 emails? I don't think that's going to be as effective, and it doesn't show your creativity or your tenacity. It shows persistence, which sounds like pests for a reason. Tenacity, you do something different. You may take a different tack. You may find out that their child is a Marine, and somehow that comes into how you're going to move on. So that's the beauty of using. And again, you have to have targeted this. These people are going to be high-level prospects, because you don't want to be just littering the countryside with $50 boxes or whatever. And you can do it a lot cheaper. So, but
that is the way to get it. I mean, look, I get 250 to 400 emails every single day. I cannot possibly read them all. I delete half of them. If I know your name, if Neil Rogers sends me an email, I'm opening it. If not, you better have an amazing subject line. Otherwise, it's just not happening. But I do open every piece of direct mail, which is why I'm recommending it just like you are. We're halfway through this interview. We're going to be right back in a minute. But first, here's a word from our sponsor, which is me. Hey, it's Jeff. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, The Sales Pro Network. But I'm here to talk about something else today. Are you a coach, consultant, creative, a solopreneur, or small business owner? And maybe you don't like selling. Maybe you think in order to sell, you have to be sleazy or pushy or salesy. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be. And in fact, I've created a 12-week live program just for you. It's called the Sales Confidence Lab, and we meet every week for 2 hours. And during those 2 hours, I'll give you both the mindset and the skill sets to enroll more clients more confidently. You'll do it naturally without any sleaze, without being pushy, without corny scripts or anything like that. I'll teach you how to have natural conversations that result in more people enrolling with you. If you're interested, drop me an email at jeff@salesconfidencelab.com. We just finished the first 12-week program, and both the reviews and the results were outstanding. The next program starts on January 6th, so if you're interested, drop me a line at jeff@salesconfidencelab, and I'll get back to you with the details. Yeah, I'm super excited about the Sales Confidence Lab. And you can also just go to salesconfidencelab.com for more information. And if you do decide to register, please use the code Duke, DUKE 50. That'll get you $50 off. That's my dog, Duke, the super sales bug. We're talking to Neil Rogers, the VP of Sales and Marketing at Rogers Marketing, co-founder of Positive Activity, and the author of Bar Tips, Everything I Needed to Know in Sales I Learned Behind the Bar. Neil, the number one challenge I see for salespeople today is that they're simply not meeting with enough prospects. It used to be they never asked for the order because they never wanted to be rejected. But today they just aren't seeing enough prospects. And it doesn't matter how good you are at sales. If you're not speaking to enough prospects, you're not going to close enough business. So besides lumpy mail, what other suggestions as a marketing expert do you have for prospecting today?
Well, I think it's a whole host of things that we prescribe when you're building out your positive activity plan. And that is, how you got to be out in the public. You got to be where they are, or where, in some cases it may be if you're a local, you're doing local business. If you're that financial planner, if you're that insurance guy or gal or whatever, you're at the local things, the chamber events and all that. You have to look for opportunities to speak, and also be a public speaker. And so if you are not and you don't have the chops of that, might I suggest Toastmasters? So there's a Toastmasters in every nook and cranny in the country, and it's a great way to practice those skills. And oh, by the way, you're meeting more people. But and then all those things need to be planned out. When am I going? When am I going to speak? What events am I going? Am I ready to do I have my in Sandler? Do I have my 30-second commercial ready that isn't obnoxious? And does it sound natural? So that when you're at a charity event or you're at any type of event, personal event, party, you're not going to be selling, but you might be introducing whatever you do. Because so what is it you do? I do this. Okay. Can you say that in a number of different ways that it doesn't sound like you're pitching them? Just like, and then, oh, by the way, if you get a little, boy, I didn't know you did that. I'd be interested in that. Well, be prepared to send them something back to your lumpy mail, right? So now you got to have what we prescribe. You have to have set up campaigns ready for the group the group the group you meet, and the group you buy. Of course, the buy we don't want as much of, it's because now you're doing the roll of the dice. So if you have a referral. So that would be, I put that under the group, because somebody's referring you in. But you should, so if you get referred, don't be thinking they're sitting by their phone waiting for you. So you have to have some sort of structured process to follow up. So, and otherwise it all just dies on the vine and all that. The algorithm now, Jeff, I know it used to be for like life insurance, it was 10-3-1. 10 suspects get 3 prospects to get 1 sale. I think with the nuance, with all the ability to hide behind digital, you got to get ultra creative and in that. And so you have to be prepared to go beyond and find out, is somebody a Marine or where did they go to school, and how can we find some way of just like, all right, I got to do business. I got to talk to this guy because he's being creative. He's not being obnoxious. He's being tenacious, which is you're finding a different way. You're thinking it through. You're showing creativity. You're showing a desire to really want to do business with somebody. Really, don't we want to do business with people that want to do business with us? How many times have any of us asked for a quote from a plumber and they never get back to you? And then some new guy comes in and he quotes you. It's like, oh, okay, you're our guy.
Yeah.
So again, it's just back to fundamental and process, right? What have you got? How are you set up? And by the way, you should be able to, size up this person, whether or not this is going to be right. But even if they're not right, send them something, because we don't want to be, if you've seen this one yet, you don't want to be doing beer plans. You know what beer plans? Beer plans. You know what beer plans are? Those are plans you make after 3 beers. You see an old friend. Oh, you know what? We need to get together. You want to be the person that does what they say they're going to do, even if it's just for practice. I said I was going to send you a note. I sent you the note.
Talk a little bit about, because you talk about responsibility. Talk about the power of taking responsibility and how that shows up in sales. I love what you just said.
Well, this is a great story. So I was at a sales meeting a little while back. It was September of last year. And, so we've been very successful within our organization. So the new guys, they all want to come up and so, how have you done this? And, whatever they're looking for. And I appreciate that, because that's exactly what I did. Found the guys at the tops of the trees and did everything they wanted out of me. You want me to deliver this? You want me to do that? When we carry you, I'll do it. And then you get the gems. So this guy, his name was Taylor, and the award, the night of the awards was it was at the Harley Davidson Museum, because we were in Milwaukee, right? We're supposed to be wearing something bikey-ish. I don't have anything bikey-ish, and I wasn't. It was the middle of summer. I'm not bringing a leather coat with me, and it's like so. So, anyways, I had a black T-shirt. So that's all I got. As I'm walking out of our trade show, because we always have a trade show at our sales meetings, a guy's there. He's got a dye sublimated jacket. A dye sub means they actually dye the logo into the fabric. Right? Okay. It's got logos, biker logos all over it. So I looked at him. I said, "What are you gonna do with that jacket?" He says, "I don't know. Take it home. I don't know." So what do you want for it? He goes, "How about $35?" Fine. He goes, "No, give me a card. Do a deal with me." Fine, I'll do that too. So I get the jacket. I go to the sales meeting. One of these kids comes out to me, "Neil, that jacket is awesome." I looked at him and said, "Taylor, I'll never wear this again. Can I have it?" I said, "You sure can." So of course my night's ending at 9:30, 10 o'clock. This kid's in his 20s. Who knows what time he got went to bed, right? So next morning is that go away breakfast. It's the one where half the people are going on planes, so it's a sparse crowd. He's sitting over there at a table by himself. I had the jacket with me. I walked over to him. I got it behind my back. "Taylor, how are you?" I said, "Oh, Neil, I'm great." "Great meeting, huh? It was a great, a lot of good speakers, a lot of good content. Learned a lot." He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to give you the best tip all week." I threw the jacket on the table and said, "Always do what you say you're going to do." And I walked away. So I'm hoping that landed with him forever. It's one of those ones I'm hoping that left. I think it did. So that's So I mean, do what you say you're going to do. Be over deliver. Do the extra. Do the extra stuff. It's how I figured out how I righted my ship. From even in school. "Oh, you want me to show up, do you? Oh, okay. You want me to ask questions? Interesting. You want me to participate? Okay. No, this is what I'm getting from them, right? Went to the after hours. I asked for help. I did all of those things. And then you look up from a guy who flunked out twice, a 385 student, right? just because I had this process and I followed it, doing the right things. So,
Love that.
and oh, by the way, if you're sitting there, and if of course, the other thing, and I'm sure we're aligned with this, I'm sure you tell your clients this all the time, operate with integrity.
100%.
Integrity.
If you've got to lie, cheat, or steal to sell your product or service, you're in the wrong business. Get out. To me, sleeping at night is way more important than making money. Right. And if you can't do it's an acronym that I taught my kids from a very young age, ADTRT, always do the right thing.
Right.
And I was not a guy who always did the right thing. That was a conscious decision when I became 31 that I was never, ever again going to lie to make money or to have sex with a woman. And for the last however many years that is, I haven't done either. So I've still sold and had sex with women, but I haven't lied to do it. And yeah, you got to, if you want to get the right thing, you've got to do the right thing. So I'm with you, Neil. Talk about your company, Positive Activity, that side of your business. What is Positive Activity all about?
Positive Activity is kind of like the sum total of our lives together, my wife and I. So we not only we run successful businesses, but we sales territories, whatever you want to call them. Is also we have a 34-year-old man with autism, so he's profoundly autistic. So we manage that. We created the first of its kind parent organization that focused on a positive approach to collaborating with the school system, whatnot, in order to do better for the kids. So the charter was we are positive, proactive parent organization. Was the way it started. If you came to one of our meetings, you could not whine about the school or why they're not doing this or whatever the whine of the day was. Leave that at the door. We're here to be productive and cooperative. So that was in that. In sales, as you know, or we'll even go back to being in the people business of any sorts, bartending, whatever, hospitality, you make more money when you're positive, when you treat people right, when you look, so this just, and we look back on it, and then I want to say it's now about 15 years ago. So my wife and I have been into yoga for at least 20 years and started to meditate, mindful behaviors and whatnot. And then we did a deep dive into positivity, the happiness, called The Happiness Advantage. Great book by Sean Acor. And if anybody just wants to watch the 12-minute TED Talk on YouTube, you'll get a lot from that too. And so we started putting those practices into our lives, hence the reason I got this baby, right? So it's the practice. So again, using practices, nothing's perfect, right? It's the practice of getting your mindset right. And there's proven practices, scientifically proven practice that where you can control most of your happiness on your own. It's not your car, your house, or whatever, or the deal you just got. It's how you got there, right? And how your mindset. So it's the practice of getting your mind in a place of positivity, which leads you to open-minded, divergent thinking, solution providing creativity, right? So now I very rarely feel boxed in anymore. What am I going to do? I can't get out, because I'm going to find a solution, some way, shape. And the solution may be to walk away, right? So, and then what you do is that leads to incredible productivity. So what are you trying to accomplish? So what we're talking about is business development, which includes the campaigns, the help email. You got little bits and pieces of that as we were chatting here. Who can buy what you sell? Are you wasting your time? We don't want to be wasting our time. Who are those people? Where are the lists? All those simple things, right? And then actually executing on them. So, but it also works in life, right? So whatever you're trying to do, there's another blog post that I did I saw this thing where Albert Einstein said, if you had not learned, I forget exactly what that if you had not learned this by 30, you were done. So he was like limiting to us. I was like, well, hold on. I've done a lot of stuff in my 50s and into my 60s. And one of the things I started doing, I started cycling. Like 56, I rode my first 100-mile bike ride. At 60, I played the piano a little and sang my whole life. Well, I decided I'm going to do this. And it was during, and I won't say the word. I'm gonna start making this a serious attempt, right? So the woman that I take vocal from said, you play the piano. So yeah, kind of. She goes, you got to play and sing. Okay, how do I do that? Well, you're gonna do this, but you give me 3 or 4 things I need to do. Great. I put that into a 90-day productive plan. So I did scales. I did this thing called 2-5-1s, which is different chord progression. I did these inverted chords up and down the piano like she told me to do. And then I did 3 vocal exercises, and then I played songs. Did that for 90 days. 90 days later, there I was on the piano in front of 200 people, playing playing and singing Burt Bacharach's "House Is Not a Home."
Wow, love that.
So
Love that. I'm very big on responsibility also, and I believe that because you mentioned happiness, it's simply a choice. And when you accept responsibility for your life, when you stop saying, I'm not wealthy because of this, and I'm not happy because of that, you stop blaming everything else. You go, really, I'm kind of responsible. In fact, I'm fully responsible for everything in my life. That's when I think you gain real power. To me, happiness is simply a choice. You choose to be happy, you choose to be sad. And for me, this is just for me, and it doesn't make it right for everybody, I choose to be happy most of the time. I mean, is it appropriate to be happy at a funeral? Well, maybe if somebody was in pain, but normally we're not happy, we're sad. But for most of here's my philosophy, Neil. I don't want to walk out after we do this, and then I WALK my DOG, which I had to spell, otherwise he would have jumped up. And after I do that, walk across the street to get a sandwich. I don't want to get hit by a car and have my final waking thought on this planet be, I wasted my last morning on Earth being pissed off about something stupid. Right. It's just not worth it. So to me, it's all choice. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's like, and there's so many things you can do to get it right, or just get your mindset into place like that. It's so darn simple. And if it's right on our website, positiveactivity.net, anybody on the planet can go and it's a free download Lori's starter kit, and it'll change your life. You do that. So the whole notion is I did this along with the exercises and then my business in that 90-day period. Nothing changed. I just added in different, 90, half hour or an hour on the piano every day and all that. So it's like you can work these things in, and but if someone needs, if they just don't have, if they need some to lead them into it. I mean, I do 3 things that I'm grateful for the last 24 hours.
Sure.
That can be the coffee is warm. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be some incredibly crazy thing. I'll give you today's if you want. This is because I came down from New Hampshire yesterday to here. All right, here it is. Nice arriving in Plymouth. Good walk with Jerry. That's my brother, lives around the corner. Fine dinner and music bingo at Gillis's. That's it. Nothing earth shattering. And then I take one and I expound a little bit. I was glad to find Jerry ready to walk, as I was tired and I didn't think I could manage Lisa's hot yoga. Got to walk with Jerry, and I walked 4 miles, and I knew I wasn't gonna, if I went into that hot yoga studio on the way down, because that was my plan, I would not have made it. So I was able to revive myself. And then I plan to meditate. So Jerry and I are walking again today. I'll do some sort of conscious act of kindness. Won't be like, it's not always earth shattering. Could be letting somebody go in line, or, let's go back to holding the door for people. Right. And then I do some I am statements, which comes from Joel Osteen of all people. And then I rewrite in the first person the 4 agreements.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, and that's how I started.
Hey, gratitude's a very high space. And personally, look, I don't know how old you are, but we're about the same age, I think. I'm grateful every morning that I get out of bed and I'm not full of aches and pains. And, I've got another day that I can, impact people, take care of my kids and stuff like that. You heard the commercial that I ran for my sales confidence lab, which is all about giving what I call the accidental seller, like a coach or a consultant, the confidence to enroll more people without being sleazy. How does your positive activity program increase confidence? Because it does, right?
Yeah, because what you're doing, you're making progress every day. It is the old. Do you remember? Did you see? What about Bob?
Sure, I love that movie.
Baby Steps, Dr. Marvin.
It's great. I'm sorry, I'm hysterically laughing in my head because it's such a great movie.
Great movie. Great movie.
They're all great in it, but Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss are brilliantly funny.
But it's like, one of the things I talk about, when I give a talk on this positivity or whatnot, or affirmations, or I'll talk about. I'll always use that Jim Rohn quote. Well, Jim Rohn trained and mentored Tony Robbins, right? So, well, Jim invented this, right? Well, no, maybe he read this, and I hold up Dale Carnegie, or maybe he read this. I held up Think and Grow Rich, and then those guys did it. Well, no, they might have known who Francis Scovel Shinn was, or Charles Haanel, or maybe they like the Stoics that's been around forever. So it's like these methods are tried and true. Thankful for you and I. Not everybody's got into it yet, and we have to give them the little affirmation that you may want to give this a shot. If you really, if you want to feel better, by the way, all this stuff will lead to better health. I mean, the what they came up with, in what Acor's research came up with, is that the happier you sells 37% more. Are there any salespeople out there, right, looking to sell 37? You're 31% more productive. That number always seems strange to me, but yeah. So I mean, and you're healthier, you're happier, the happier you is not as reactive. It's an old Irish negative. I always say I'm the product of the seventh of eight of a negative Irish Catholic family. I've been chipping away at negativity for 60 plus years, and but I know I feel better. As a matter, I'll give you a quick deal this morning. So this breakfast place I go to, I said to the kid, this woman that usually is a waitress, she's behind the burners, back in the little kitchen. I said, tell Kim there's a customer at the counter. It says her omelet stinks. Oh, I can't do that. I said, I know, Kim. Go ahead and do it. Oh, I can't do that. He's like, okay, all right. He starts keep on explaining. No, move along, please. Just move along. So I'm sitting there. I'm contemplating the tip. Now I am a bartender. I'm a tipper. I'm like going, do I send this kid a message? I said, you know what? No. I tipped him. I felt better about that than because I was thinking about how I would feel if I walked away and made that kid feel bad. He doesn't need to feel that bad. He just didn't, I'm not here to give life lessons to everybody on the planet. I think you got the message, right? Yeah. So here's the tip. So I felt better about that. Right. So staying out of those things and going down those negative roads, that's just a negative path I did not need to start my day with. Yeah, I did. I think the kid was crazy. Didn't I said, I know the woman, but don't worry. I'm just kidding. Whatever. So move along.
I get it. I'm still thinking about What About Bob in that scene where he's afraid to go sailing and they actually tie him to the mast.
Yeah.
Screaming, I'm sailing. I might have to watch that tonight. We live in a world that's filled with distraction, the attention economy. What does it mean to be truly present? And how does choosing to be truly present and paying attention create opportunity in both hospitality and sales?
Well, I think it goes right down to respecting it. If you're forever looking at this thing, while you're with somebody, whether it's, the family now, it's like, put the phones away at dinner, no phones. Let's not even take pictures. We don't need to say anything to anybody right now. That's being distracted, and you're not present. We're not focusing on each other. We're not getting any vibes from each other because one of us is over here and one of us is over there. I went to I was in DC last week. It might be a little bit of a diversion path, but it's about that mindset. We went to the Milliken. The American Dream Museum, something like that. just being in that building, right? We just were all walking around. It's like 6 of us. No, it was 8 of us. And we just were walking around and everybody's just in this, but we were vibing. Nobody had their phones out and, like taking pictures, let's take a selfie. It was just, we're focused on what was on the walls. I sat there, meditated. I walked by. Then my wife was meditating in another spot. But afterwards, we all stood together. I said, was that amazing? It just was, because we were being, we were there, it wasn't, we weren't even distracting each other, like interrupting. Hey, you think this one's good? No, it was just like, we were just being. So I think that gets noticed in any situation. So,
Yeah.
So just anywhere you can show, it's funny. I really discovered that respect is what I'm really looking for, from people. And just be a little respectful. I mean, not like worship. I mean, I'm not talking about worship or anything. Just respectful.
Yeah, you're 1,000,000% right about these things, and I love my phone just like everybody loves their phone. I used to put my phone on mute, when I would, put it in my sport jacket pocket or my suit jacket pocket when I would go on a sales call. But when it's on mute, if it's ringing, you still feel it ringing.
Right.
And you can even still hear it a little bit. I just turn it off now when I go on a sales call, because my job is not to be worried about what's on my phone. It's to pay attention to the prospect who I might be able to serve and who might help me feed my family. Before we go, Neil, if someone applied both bar tips and positive activity starting tomorrow, what noticeable difference would they see in their relationships and the results?
In 90 days, their life would change. They would, if they.
That's a bold statement, my friend.
If they sat down and every day did the practices that we talk about, they do their business in the way that we especially in business development. That's really, especially someone new. I think about the new person a lot when I do this, because that's I think, when I first started in the food business, how did I build that? How did I go from making pretty good money in the food business and being asked to go into the athletic footwear and apparel business, and went from benefits and a car and whatnot to commission. Why did that work? It worked because I did things similar every day, and oh, by the way, nobody taught me any of this. It was just kind of like what I taught myself when I figured out the school thing, when I got my process going for school. Because as I mentioned those steps earlier, sounds like sales, doesn't it? It is, being there, showing up, yada yada yada, understanding your products, etc. So so if you do these things for 90 days, and oh, by the way, give yourself some grace. It's a practice, not a perfect, because something's going to come in, something's going to change. But if you get back on the horse and get going, you'll look back after 90 days, you won't know where you came from.
I love it. Love it, Neil. Hey, before we go, I'm going to share my screen. Now, some people are watching this live and some people will watch it on the replay, and they'll be able to see your contact information. But for those who will be listening on a podcast, and this will get converted to a podcast in about 2 to 3 weeks, how can people reach you if they want to talk to you, if they want to book you, if they want to work with you on a marketing basis, or the premiums and promotion products? How do people reach you?
Just contact us directly right in those contact information right there. They can call, they can email, whatever's easiest for them. They can find us. All that they really would like to, our philosophy and our contact information and whatnot, is all on positiveactivity.net. And you'll get a sense for, okay. And all that stuff, everything we talk about, we have done. So when we learned about, some of the stuff we didn't develop, but we put it into practice, and we talk about how it worked for us and share that it might be good to them, but always giving the homage to the author. It's I picked up stuff from Hill, I picked up stuff from Carnegie, I picked up stuff from Sean Acor, from Rohn. You hear the Rohn one, that one comes off my tongue easy. So it's so yeah. I'd love to chat with anybody who wants to chat, and if anybody gets the book and wants to chat about it, happy to chat.
Thank you, Neil. And thank you for sharing your brilliance with us so generously. I truly appreciate it. And I'll end as I always do. Please, gang, remember, sales is a game of making things happen. Get out there and make sales happen. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend, Neil. Thank you.
Bye, Jeff.